Any further questions from anyone in the audience?
I have a couple of questions. And I'm just curious really more about the way the bid was handled and the way it was published and the way it was, you know, we struck up a conversation a couple of weeks ago when this appeared on the agenda. I'll take those off. And it was pulled from the agenda, and then at that point it wasn't really said that it was a bid. And then it appeared, I began some conversations which were stopped cold. I had a lot of questions, and I've usually had some very good relationships and discussions with very well knowledgeable IT folks. I found that kind of strange, and I kept thinking, you know, what's with this? You know, can I see the agreement? Anytime a $300,000, really sort of $1 million bid is, you know, contracts on the table, I'm curious. I would really like to see the agreement. There've been some issues across the country with these Microsoft agreements, and that's where I wanted to see it. I still haven't gotten a look at the agreement. I suppose I'll have to do a public information request. And so I don't really know what all is in the agreement. This is a price lock, but what is our agreement with Microsoft? So then all of a sudden it gets put back on the agenda for this morning, and I'm thinking, what's the rush? I mean, can anybody address that? Why it has to be put through right now? I really had some real deep, thoughtful, meaningful questions that didn't come from just me, that came from a national source about this Microsoft agreement, and yet I don't seem to be able to get my questions answered.
Do you have a question of Mr. Price that you'd like to ask?
Not without my technical information in front of me. I didn't bring it here this morning because I didn't really want to take the board's time and the audience's time. I knew the real issue. And plus, truthfully, I was surprised when I found this back on the agenda for Monday morning. Can you tell me what the rush is? Why this has to be approved right now? Are we on a deadline? Is there like a May 31st thing? And, you know, or is there not any time for further review of how this is done?
Is up for our contract runs June 1 to June 1. So the renewal.
So there's a time
has been
component.
set for June 1. So if we don't choose to go forward, then we're not renewing on our time schedule.
That's the first question. Are you? I mean, I would imagine, and this stuff was brought up in the funding task force. There was a technology subcommittee and a lot of discussion about technology and how we have a huge investment in technology. We spend a lot of money. You know, $300,000 equates to about 4 teacher units. You know, and that's why it's all coming down to teacher units. Every calculation in my head now. And, I mean, is this something that I don't know how to have further discussions about this. I mean, can we have further discussions about this? Can I see the agreement?
Well, let me respond to that because you had requested the agreement, and I emailed you what the agreement that we signed, and that was at least a week ago.
Right, it was.
Right at that time.
It was.
So I felt like I provided what you had asked for without needing a Freedom of Information Act.
And I appreciate that.
It wasn't the appropriate information or didn't give you everything that you needed. But
Well, and then, and in you know, all due respect, I did ask back, well, this seems to be sort of on the top data, you know, where is the actual agreement, to which I didn't get a response. And, you know, I understand there's a way now that I'm supposed to handle public information requests. And there I ask a question without it becoming a public information request now. But is there a possibility, is there a larger agreement somewhere with Microsoft about all that we do with them, all the data that they collect from us? And
that is the agreement we have with Microsoft. There is no
that's
paperwork
it.
That we have with them.
There's no other paperwork that we have with them other than those sheets of paper that you provided me. Okay, well that's helpful. Okay.
Hey, Robin, you're a certified Microsoft engineer, whatever. Is there any other components to this that you haven't had answered? I mean, we can get balled up in this thing for endless hours, but somebody like yourself who's in the business, if you will.
If with the way Mr. Price describes, if it is a per year count as opposed to a count, Microsoft doesn't sell software. Microsoft sells licenses. Okay, the software you have on your home computer, they're licensing it to you. You didn't buy it, you don't own it, you will never own it. Okay, they can pull your license if they wanted to just by giving you a refund. If this is a 6,000 computers, and they are cows that are purchased at a yearly basis with all the components that are in it at $45 per cow, it's a tremendous deal. It is a tremendous deal because if you take everything put together and were to buy it separately, it costs a fortune. But the part I am not with Microsoft's educational part, they do extend a massive discount to schools and to nonprofits. So if it is in fact a per year CAL agreement, that is a good deal.
I mean, I have total confidence that Keith have and will have. If there are any high-level questions or comments or concerns you got, Trish, I'd say fire them to him, but I
Thank
don't
you.
see any good points in this recommendation.
Mr. Singer?
Yes. Listening to everything that's going on, the only thing that is possibly not current would be Office 2010. That's the only thing that might possibly be added during this current year, because all the other areas are currently up to date. There was a year ago that Windows 7 was installed, on all the computers, etc. Would there be any harm in delaying Office 2010 for a year and not accepting the bid, any bid, on this for the current year, resulting in a savings of $290,000?
But I'd like to flip that around. Is there any benefit to even trying to do that?
The harm is that takes us out of our current agreement and we're required to true up our licensing. So as I explained, this is a year-to-year cow, so we would have to go ahead and purchase the cows. So the cost would actually be more because we would have to purchase cow is client access license. We have to purchase client access licenses for each one of these components to bring that up to speed to legally be able to run that moving forward. And then if we wanted to go back into an agreement, we'd actually be paying more to go back into an agreement